everybody, and this is the next author interview on my author interview series here on Instagram. I am Ivana Sanders, the Novelette, and I hope everyone's doing well today. Today we are interviewing Liz Lawson about her next book, The Lucky Ones, which comes out in April, and she's having a wonderful giveaway right now about it, so you all have to check that out. You're gonna get all kinds of book Lucky Ones swag and freebies, which is very, very nice. We're going to go ahead and invite Liz to join. We're ready. Awesome. So again, I am the Novelette, and this author interview series is something I've been doing since 2019, and I think it's very fun and enjoyable. And with all of the events being canceled recently in America and around the world because of, hi Liz, with all the recent events canceled because of the coronavirus for book festivals and all kinds of art festivals, I think it's so important that it's good to offer online sources to authors and other artists to be able to still promote themselves and their platform during this time. So hopefully this could be of some help right now. And we are going to go. Let's get Liz. Let's see. We're going to get Liz on with us. I have two posted on my YouTube channel right now, but there we go. Here's Liz. Try it again. Okay, I'm sending a request to Liz to join. I think we're having a few technical difficulties. And then Liz will accept my invite, and then we'll be on split screen together. The one time I did these interviews on data, I think, and it kept going in and out, and I learned only to do it on Wi-Fi after that. But then I learned also I can use my own personal hotspot. That works really well. And I'm trying to record the interview while it's happening this time, because in looking for Liz to be able to accept the request is what we're going to see if Liz can accept the request to join with. Okay.
There we go.
Yay!
Hi.
We're sending the request. I'm so glad it worked.
Yes, sorry. I don't know what was happening there. It wasn't showing up for me for some reason.
Okay, a lot of times when I do these, sometimes it does act a little funny.
Gotcha.
But I love doing them on Instagram. Hello, everyone. I love doing them on Instagram because it offers the ability for anyone who's following me, following you, to be able to join in, ask questions.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, interactive, and it's accessible to almost everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I keep trying with Instagram because I really want it to work. It finally does. Well, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. I'm so glad to
Good.
have you on. I love doing this series.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. This is great.
Absolutely. I think that with a lot of the canceled events going around because of the
Yeah.
this is sort of platform that it'd be good for authors to be able to still get the word out about their projects without having to leave the house.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The internet is very resourceful. We can all use it to the best of our abilities.
Yes, definitely. We're trying right now, some of the Roaring Twenties people in the spring to get a little thing together. Exactly. Just to help promote our books and, do some more stuff online like you're talking about.
Yes, I've been hosting this series since 2019.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. And I've started putting them on my YouTube channel because in 24 hours, every Instagram live story expires.
Yeah.
And my first ones they're gone into the abyss of Instagram's memory, right? And it breaks.
Yeah.
So now I'm recording them. I'm recording this one as we're filming.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So hopefully nothing goes wrong. It will be on my YouTube channel later on today.
Great. That sounds perfect.
Yay! Well, I am so happy to interview you, and we can get started with the questions.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So, what did you, Liz Lawson, want to be as a child, and was it an author?
That's a good question. I would say when I was little, I remember I wanted to be a lot of different things, and that continued well into my 20s. But I remember distinctly wanting to be a librarian at a certain point. I was very into organizing my books, and I don't know if I ever specifically thought like I want to be an author because it just seemed like such a pipe dream. I always loved writing, and I've found writing at my parents' house from when I was really little on. But I think that I didn't start really taking the dream seriously until I was actually in my early 30s.
Really? Well, that's
Yeah,
very good that it ends up being able to find you knew your passion, and now you've been able to basically focus on your passion.
exactly. It's great.
That's the best. So, what does a day in the life of Liz look like?
Well, I have a day job that is quite busy. I work as a music supervisor in film and television. So I currently am working on 6 shows, all of which are on VH1. I work on like all the Love and Hip Hops and a show called Black Ink Crew. So yeah, so my day job is really busy. My days are pretty much filled up with that. I work on the different shows. My coordinator is very helpful. He's also an author, actually. And then currently, I just got off deadline for my second book. But while I was on deadline, it was basically like I would work all day, go hang out with my child for an hour or two, and then I would go write more. So it was a lot. But when you really want something, it's worth it.
That's true. When you really want something, it's like you make time for it.
Definitely.
I do. I love the inclusion of music and soundtracks in movies and film and TV because it carries the emotion. It carries the tone and introduces things to the story that maybe haven't been uttered in dialogue yet. And I think music is so important to anything visual. And when I make book trailers, because I also make book trailers.
Oh, nice.
For authors, yes, I make these like cinematic book trailers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you. And I put Dreamcast to them and soundtracks. And when I do it, I realize that synchronizing the images to the sound is like one of my favorite things. It's like so fulfilling for me somehow. But I can understand how it takes a long time because doing the music editing and video editing, it could be hours and hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mine too. I love it.
Yeah, the editing process is a whole different beast. We don't edit at all. We just do like the creative and the clearance and licensing.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Um, I just recently created my own the background music to my one of my first book trailers. So normally I use yes, I use GarageBand and I use the string instruments. It's the one I
That's
use.
awesome. You're a composer.
A little bit, yes. And I did it for the book trailer just made for Augur of Shadows by Jacob Rundle. It's on my
Okay.
um okay, so what do you use to inspire you during writer if you have writer's block?
Oh, if I have writer's block, usually, I mean, it can vary actually. Like with my debut, because I wasn't on deadline, so I had a lot more leniency in terms of, finishing it. I think I would use like I would turn to different projects. Like if I was stuck on one thing, I would just kind of be like, okay, I'm going to try something else, write a different story. Short stories are really helpful, I found, because they kind of like just, you can start and finish them, which is in a short amount of time, which is so important when you're writing like an entire novel to be able to feel fulfilled that you actually can finish things. Um, and but with book two, because I was on deadline, it was just sort of like having to power through, just kind of like being like, okay, I might have writer's block, but tomorrow, if I don't write the count that I need to, like tomorrow I'm going to have to write so much more. And that was really inspiring. It was like really helpful to be like, if I don't do it right now, I'm still going to have to do it. My brain was like, oh, right. Like, try to get online here.
Like during NaNoWriMo, National Writing Month.
Oh, yeah.
You just set a word count that you want to write within each day to be able to complete a book in a month. Oh my goodness. And then if you don't do it, you have more thousands of words to write the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I was able to come close to finishing my debut novel during this last NaNoWriMo.
It's amazing.
It's a YA thriller called The Beckwith Brothers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you. It's set in the 1990s.
Oh, I love that. Very nice. That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you so much. I didn't finish it completely during that time. I had to go into January before it was done. But at least it's done now, and I'll be doing my cover reveal soon. So I feel like I'm making progress. Yes, I'm so excited. I even organized my own books to be on tour.
Oh, that's amazing. Good for you.
I'm so happy. I'm so excited. What would you like between the two, coffee or tea?
Oh, I'm a big coffee drinker. Too big. I have at least 2 cups a day. So, yeah, definitely coffee.
I start my day with a vanilla macchiato, and I see caffeine. I drink from there.
Oh, yeah. I am a black coffee person, and so I'm very serious about my caffeine.
I drink caffeine throughout the day, and then I might have some tea at night.
Tea at night is nice.
Yeah, and I've learned how to drink tea now without sugar.
Oh.
I have a big sweet tooth, so that's very major for me.
That's good. Yeah, I a few years ago decided I used to be a big latte drinker, and then a few years ago I was like, I need to just like if I'm going to keep drinking coffee, I'm going to just become a real coffee drinker. So now I'm like no sugar, no milk, like just straight coffee, and it's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to get away from sugar myself.
Yeah. It's just, an adjustment, but.
Yes, that's true. Things do taste more crisp without the sugary cream.
Yes.
Crisp and clear.
Definitely.
Yeah. What's the best TV or movie adaptation in your opinion?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Let's see. I think The Princess Bride, not a lot of people know that it was a book, but I think that they did a great job adapting that one. It is.
June right? So say hi to her.
I know. I see people. Hi, June. I see that. Or sorry. I love that book. It was one of my favorite books growing up. The Princess Bride. It was like I reread it over and over and over. But I think the movie is so much fun too, and they did such a good job casting it, and it's so memorable.
Oh yeah,
I would say that that is probably, in my opinion, the best adaptation.
I love that. And Shonda Rhimes did that one. That was one of her breakout projects in her career.
Really?
Yes, that's how
Oh,
she that's how she got noticed by ABC.
no kidding. That's awesome.
Yes, it was fantastic. I'm so glad she was. When I was really when it came out, I didn't know anything about those any of that. But afterwards, I learned about those details, and I was like, "That's an awesome way to break out into the film career to do an adaptation of a successful book."
Yeah, absolutely.
It was fantastic. I love
That's
it.
really cool.
It was inspiring too. It was like really very nice.
Yeah, that's really great. Sorry, I keep seeing all these people joining. I'm like, whoa. Hi, guys.
Hi, me too, and Dana. I know her.
Oh, Dana's amazing. I just saw her last weekend.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly.
Oh, the North Texas team.
Exactly. Yeah. She moderated a couple panels there and I was there signing. So we got to hang out a little bit at night. It was very fun.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I was going to go, but then I canceled.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fair. I think I think it's like unfortunately, one of the last festivals that of the spring that wasn't canceled. It was like right on the edge there, and they managed to pull it through.
Yeah, I heard that the younger people aren't really getting as sick as the older people are.
Yeah.
Carriers.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't want to accidentally come in contact with anybody who I could carry it,
Exactly.
who are older,
Yeah.
who could be affected worse than me.
Exactly. And I keep like thinking I've read a bunch of articles about it, and the flattening of the curve in terms of people getting sick is really important. So it's just like you're saying, trying to like minimize the spread of it.
Right, right. So I was like, as soon as I decided not to go, I was like, well, I'm gonna start, connecting even further on social media.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a great like it is so great that we have this ability.
Yes, and I want to be here for everybody who was affected by the cancellations too. Um, so what would you like to tell us what your book is about?
My book is a contemporary YA novel. It is about the aftermath of a school shooting. And so it's very emotional and serious, but I tried my best to give a sense of hope in the book. That was really important to me, that through community and friendship and love, you can really move on from tragedy and um, in a way that can provide you with some comfort. So it's dual protagonist, a girl named May who is 17 and her brother died in the shooting, and a boy named Zach whose mom is a lawyer who's defending the shooter. So they meet, and it's about their relationship, how they sort of both come to heal from their relationship. And there's, and May's trauma and how she grapples with it.
Well, that is very emotional, but it sounds like something that pulls you in deeply as you learn to care about these characters and see the dynamics between them.
Yeah, I hope so.
Situation and young people, how they process that sort of that type of an event, which is happening in the country, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. It's very sad, but
I'm curious what inspired the story, if you could share.
I started writing it actually in a short story class, surprisingly. We were given a prompt by the instructor, which is no longer in the book actually, but I started writing what is now chapter 2, which is Zach's point of view. And I had this idea all of a sudden that was like this boy and his sister who are pariahs in their own town because of their mom and her choices as a lawyer. And it sort of went from there. Like I was in high school, or I was freshman in college when Columbine happened. And so, it was pretty deeply affecting, and just seeing how the world has changed, but also not changed, unfortunately, since then. It's just a topic that always sort of is in the back of, I think, a lot of people's minds. So it it really became a story about that early on, about, you know, grief and like loss. And it's not about the shooting itself. Like I made a very conscious decision not to ever depict the shooting on the page. I wanted to make sure that, you know, there was no glamorization of it. There was no, that was very, very, very important to me. So you know, it's more about like loss.
And that it wasn't too triggering to
Absolutely.
yeah, more like the aftermath, right?
Exactly. It's all the aftermath. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
that. That's a very interesting story. That's a very interesting journey to be able to go on with these characters.
It was definitely a hard book to write, but I'm very glad I wrote it.
I'm glad you wrote it too, and I'm glad we all have a chance to read.
We shut down our apps, both of us, turned off our Wi-Fi, restarted everything. So, hopefully it works now. Hi, Liz. Okay. So far, so good. Fingers crossed, yes. All right. Exactly.
Hello.
I hear you.
That was a lot. Yay, technology.
Technology. We are all going to persevere.
Yeah, we do. We keep trying.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad it came back.
Yeah, thank you so much for bearing with, well, Instagram.
Absolutely, yes. We have to, because this is what we do, and we're authors, we persevere, and this is important.
Very true.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I recorded the first half already.
I know.
I got it. Oh my goodness. Okay, I am going to go ahead and ask you the other questions.
Okay, great.
Thank you for coming back. Hopefully
oh my gosh, of course. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, do you plan your books in advance, or do you let them develop as you write?
Unfortunately, I usually let them develop as I write. I wish I have friends who are very detailed plotters, and it sounds great, but I just can't like bring myself to plot like that. Like it's just, I like writing, like I like getting into the prose. So I do just usually just start writing, and then I kind of see where it takes me. This new book that I just turned my first draft into my editor for, I did have to be a little bit more detailed with that. I wrote up a synopsis because we were selling it off of a pitch. So I wrote up like a 3-page synopsis, and I had a better idea for that one where it was going, but it totally diverged, and it ended up being, I added like a POV and another, anyway, it went a little off the path that I had paved for myself, but
that's okay though, right? Because it always,
yeah.
I'm usually a plotter myself, but I think I always end up adding little details here and there as I go on. It's more like a course that I'm planning on taking, but I may go off the course a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's good to be a little bit flexible with that sort of thing.
When I wrote my debut novel, The Beckwith Brothers, I pretty much knew everything I wanted to happen in the first and second half, the beginning and the middle, but I didn't know exactly how I wanted it to end. And so during the whole book, I was like basically trying to foreshadow my idea that I had, maybe that I wanted to end, but the ending of it didn't come until like a week until I finished the book. The week of that I finished the book, and that was kind of exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. What does the act of writing mean to you?
What does it mean to me? It's like, it's like a way of communicating with people that isn't just, conversation. And it's also, I have always been somebody who is interested in other people's lives. Like, when I'm driving through a different town or a different part of the world, I am so curious as to how those people's lives play out. And writing really enables me to explore that in a great way, as does reading. I mean, reading is a huge part of that. So it means like communication. It means understanding people on a deeper level than you might otherwise, I think.
That's wonderful. And also, I think to me, it feels like a way of understanding myself even
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Because like, each character is kind of a part, some sort of a part of myself. And I get to explore those parts through actual people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. I think Mike Lasagna just joined
Hi,
us.
Mike.
I saw him from Twitter. I
Yes, Mike's the best.
just encountered him on Twitter recently. He's thinking about. I think he's the one who's thinking about making an online book festival. So that's
Yes, which is a great idea.
um, so we'll see how that goes. I'm very excited. Um, so what has been the hardest thing about publishing, and what has been the most fun?
I mean, publishing is hard, period. For me, the hardest part of publishing, it's the uncertainty, I guess. There's so many pieces that go into a book, and I never really realized it before I got an agent and then sold my book. And learning about all those different pieces and
You said sold your book or stole your book?
sold my book. When I stole my book. No, when I sold my book. You know, I never really like was that aware of anything past the part of revising, and now we're like in the marketing PR stage, and there's just, you know, a lot of it is it can seem very vague. So, and it's a lot of like slow moving parts, and I am a very impatient person, so I like to know stuff and I like to know everything. So it's hard to be patient. That is the hardest part, for sure. Being patient is challenging. And then what was the second part of the question?
What has been the most fun?
Oh, the most fun. Really connecting with other writers has been the most fun. I was always the person before I got an agent I was like, had major imposter syndrome. So I never reached out to other writers on Twitter. I was always kind of like a lurker. And it's been really fun since then to get to know people and to like, you know, just see how many people are really out there who are really passionate about books. It's really just amazing.
That's how I felt being as a book blogger. That's how I felt connecting with people as a book blogger for like the last 3 years, I think. And it's been so exciting just doing the connecting. And now I'm hosting this author interview series, and I feel like I've connected even so much more than even when I was doing, doing book blogging. I still do it though. And book trailer creating. I feel like I've connected even more deeply by starting to publish my debut novel and also hosting this series. So I love the connecting. I love the passion of everyone, and I love how excited and effervescent everyone is. Everyone is so nice.
Yeah, everyone's so nice, and everyone's so supportive of each other. I feel like that's something these past few days people have really seen is like how supportive everyone is of like, you know, authors with books coming out soon or who just had books come out, and like, you know, the willingness people have to support. It's great.
Especially with physical events being canceled, you know, as much support as we can get on the internet. And the support on the internet can be even more helpful than being in person if it's enough. If it's exactly. Yes.
Hi, P.
Hi. Hello. So do you have stories on the back burner waiting to be written?
You know, I do. I had started writing a book before we sold my second one officially, sort of just like waiting on my editor to get back to us about her answer. And so I started writing something else, and I reread the first, it's only like 4,000 words, but I reread it over this past weekend. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really like this. And it's a little bit different than my first two books in that it's not, I don't want it to be a super emotional contemporary. No, not my shark book. I do have a shark book idea.
A shark.
My agent does not like that idea, but I love it. It's about killer sharks, man. Everyone loves killer sharks.
Is it like
Jeff
Jaws?
just reminded me of that.
Is it like Jaws or is it like humorous?
It's like, okay, so it's like Shape of Water, but there's not like a love aspect between the shark and the human. But in that, like, there's this like lab involved. It's supposed to be like scripts at UCSD, and this girl whose dad is a scientist there, and they discover that like the lab has been creating these killer sharks. So I see it as like One Crazy Summer times Shape of Water times Jaws. It's quite an idea.
Yeah.
Sharknado crossover, exactly.
Yeah.
The working title is Sharknado, so.
I love the story of Jurassic World, the reboot of Jurassic Park. They create their own dinosaur in the lab and it escapes. And it's like a super killer dinosaur. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Reminds me of that a lot. That's pretty cool. I look forward to reading that one too.
Oh, thank you.
All the genres. So you have stories on the back burner. What advice would you give to budding writers out there? Like you.
I mean, like you said, it's just perseverance. It's like you have to. I wrote 2 books before I got an agent. You know, I queried one of them and nothing really happened with it. And it's a huge bummer when that happens because you feel like you wasted so much time. But really, like writing more than almost anything, I think it takes practice, and those books are practice. You know, you have to like think of it that way instead of thinking like, oh, all of these words, which is how it's so easy to think about. You know, and just thinking like if you keep going, you will only get better.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
As I was accumulating information over the internet to plan my publication of my book, because either I want to do self-publish or hybrid publishing, and so I have like 17,000 screen captures in my phone of various information about publishing resources, how to market oneself, how other authors did their publications, their whole timeline. Like I'm building a whole like self-publishing blueprint.
Oh, that's amazing.
I can totally like share it with everybody. I want to like put it into some sort of like course or something, or download or a webinar or something. So that's one of my goals. Like I really want to put all the information in one place so everyone can learn from it, like I did.
That's a great idea. People would love, I mean, that would be so useful to so many people.
I would hope so. It's overwhelming to look at it sometimes. I want to organize it in a way that is easy for me to look at and even for them to look at so I can like share it with them. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
17,000 screen captures. 17,000. Yes. So what can you share with us about your ultimate publishing goals?
Oh gosh.
Like perfect world.
I mean, you know, it's like the same goals I think a lot of people have. Like oh, stop, Jeff. Sorry. My assistant is making fun of me. I would say, you know, the ultimate goal is like awards for me, probably more than like lists. You know, with what I write, I think that would be great. If I diverge away from like the emotional contemporary type of stuff, then it's more about like the mass market. But right now, you know, it's my goals. Well, and my really ultimate goal is to just keep writing, you know, just keep writing books, because that is how every author I've ever talked to who's past their first book or two says, like, it's not just about one book, it's about a career. So, you know, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to make an actual career out of it.
Staying power.
Exactly.
Yes. I want movies based off of my book.
Yeah, and that would be amazing too. I'm not going to say I don't want that, because I would definitely be fine with that.
Yeah. I want movies, and I want a short series made off of at least 2 of my stories. I want to produce them.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. My ultimate goal. Yes.
Nice. That's great. I like that that's something I'm like trying to get better at, is to be like, this is my goal and I'm okay to say it, because sometimes it feels like you're jinxing yourself or something. So that's awesome that you're like, yeah, that's what I want.
I feel like I'm speaking it into the atmosphere. I'm speaking it out.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do, I think. That's awesome.
How can we about you and the lucky ones?
The best way is I have an author website. It's lizlawsonauthor.com. Yeah, I know. Sound, yay.
Hey, Sam.
And the book is also on Goodreads, on, indie bookstores. IndieBound has it, Barnes and Noble, and then Amazon, of course. Although I highly recommend buying from indies over Amazon. And yeah, you can find information. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at LZLWSN. Yeah, so it's all out there.